shake the presidents of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and Guyana, Rafah Ali, said on Thursday their willingness to continue the dialogue to settle the Essequibo controversy. The Argentinian government announced a tightening of security policies against street protests and social unions and social organizations. In Palestine, after the 69 days of siege against the Gaza Strip, Israel killed at least 27 Palestinians in the city of Rafah. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. With a strong handshake, the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and Guyana, Rafah Ali, said on Thursday their willingness to continue the dialogue to settle the Essequibo controversy. During the high-level meeting held in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, both presidents also expressed their commitment to peace in the region. Prior to the face-to-face dialogue, the two heads of state held separate meetings with the leader of CARICOM, Ansela Gonçalves, and Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva. In that concern, Maduro reiterated Caracas' position to maintain the dialogue within the framework of the 1966 Geneva Agreement. During the day, the Venezuelan delegation, headed by President Nicolas Maduro, held a meeting with the Organization of the Caribbean Community CARICOM and the Community of Latin America and the Caribbean States. Under the format of the Venezuelan-Guyana dialogue table hosted by Kingston, a face-to-face meeting was held to discuss the latest actions of Guyana regarding maritime areas pending the limitation in which the neighboring country granted license for the extraction to the ExxonMobil, among others. On Thursday, in Argyle, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Rafah Ali, and president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, held discussions on matters consequently to the territorial dispute between their two countries. As a result of the high-level meeting, both heads of states reached an agreement on the following issues. Agree that Guyana and Venezuela directly or indirectly will not threaten or use force against one another in any circumstances, including those consequently to any existing controversies between the two countries. Agree that any controversies between the two states will be resolved in accordance with international law, including the 1966 Geneva Agreement, committed to the pursuit of good neighborlands, peaceful coexistence, and the unity of Latin America and the Caribbean. Agreed to continue dialogue on any other pending matters of mutual importance to the two countries. Agreed that both states will refrain whether the power or the means from escalating any conflict or disagreement as arisen from any controversy between them. Agreed to establish immediately a joint commission of the foreign ministers and technical persons from the two states to address matters as mutually agreed. An update from this joint commission will be submitted to the presidents of Guyana and Venezuela within 3 months. Both states agreed to meet again in Brazil within the next 3 months, or that another agreed time to consider any matter with implications for the territorial dispute, including the above-mentioned update of the Joint Commission. In Argentina, the government of the ultra-conservative Javier Milei announced on Thursday a tightening of security policy against street protests after his shock therapy measure targeted rejection from union social organizations. Security that all police forces are called to act against public demonstrations, including roadblocks, pickets, and blockades. The decision allows the police to increasingly use force until roads are free for protesters. In El Salvador, the Committee of Relief of Inmates and Political Prisoners, COFAPES, denounced the country's not complying with the court's parole order on behalf of former Minister of Justice Essequibo Mauricio Ramirez Lavanverde. A court ordered Ramirez's house arrest. However, the General Direction of Penitentiary Centers did not authorize his release. The former official of the FMLN administration is serving 2 years imprisonment from alleged act of corruption. The lawyer of FTS expressed that
on Tuesday, the Fifth Sentencing Court, which is where the case was transferred, notified the attorneys that precisely after 2 years in prison, Mauricio Ramirez's defense attorney filed a demand to claim that right. Therefore, other types of measures in substitution to detention were considered, which should not be so restrictive. The only limitations he is left with would be not to leave the country, not to change residence, and appear in court every 15 days.
In Bolivia, President Luis Arce stressed that the industrialization of natural resources and raw material is a necessity for the nation, in addition to completing the productive social community economic model. The Bolivian president explained that the economic model is well consolidated inside and outside the country. He also indicated that the economic model is a process of income redistribution through different social policies and the establishment of new redistribution policies.
In this case, we are maintaining social and income distribution policies, establishing new distributive policies such as the tax on large fortunes that generate a redistribution of income that generates resources from those who have more money to the state. And the state generates works for the people who need them, especially in the areas that you have seen me inaugurating and setting fundamental foundations, which is health.
Bolivian President Luis Arce processes judging the economy based on production and not on market prices.
Adjusting prices is very easy, but it has enormous consequences for the people. That is what those who propose to adjust the economy by adjusting prices will never say. The most difficult ones are to adjust on the production side, to adjust on the quantity side, on the storage side, and what we are doing to improve the figures of the public sector, the figures of the foreign debt, the general figures of the whole economy, is to structurally correct the production of the national economy.
Let's take a very short break, but remember you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats and news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. In Palestine, after 69 days of fight against the Gaza Strip, Israel killed at least 27 Palestinians in the city of Rafah. The Israeli occupation forces carried out riots on Palestinian homes in Rafah, causing the death of more than 20 citizens, including children and women. During the day, around 26 bodies were recovered from the Al-Dara neighborhood in the Palestinian enclave after the Tel Aviv regime's attacks. The health situation in hospitals in the Palestinian city of Jenin worsened and escalating Israeli aggressions against the governorate for the third consecutive day. The health ministry reported on Thursday that the health situation in Jenin is difficult due to the attacks of the Israeli occupation forces against hospitals and their staff. The governmental health body said it was keeping a close eye on the health centers to check the conditions of the wounded and their medical needs. In Palestine, authorities report that hundreds of Gazans followed the humanitarian aid truck that crossed the Rafah border crossing on Thursday to collect supplies. Citizens' actions follow a statement by the Israeli regime that it will continue its attacks on the Palestinian enclave. Meanwhile, the international community continues to call for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. In Palestine, workers report that the ongoing Israeli bombardment of Gaza is affecting the electricity supply, leading to the closure of several businesses. In the midst of this situation, Gazans have taken the initiative to reactivate the economy of the areas by opening their shops despite the consequences of the Israeli side. Likewise, workers in the swing area have found some solutions to the lack of electricity in their work areas by creating electricity generators with bicycles in order to be able to use sewing machines. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to join us on our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on the screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. With financial break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Albania, opposition lawmakers interrupt the opening of a new parliamentary session to demand that the government be investigating for alleged corruption. The riots started in October before prosecutors charged Salih, the Berisha president and now senior leader of the center-right Democratic Party, with corruption. The opposition said it is seeking to set up a parliamentary commission of inquiry to address alleged corruption cases involving senior government officials. United States has established communications with military junta ruling Nigeria to inform them that it is ready to begin negotiations and recognize them as the country's formal government. After numerous threats and pushing for a regional confrontation against this West African nation, Washington has backed down. Ali Maham, signing Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs at the State Department, confirmed meetings with several members of the ruling junta and the transitional government. In Finland, the Central Organization of Trade Unions joined the workers' strike, resulting in a total shutdown of public transport throughout the country. Public services workers are protesting against the government's labor reforms and social cuts. It is in the face of failing negotiations between the unions and the state. The president of Russia stated that he will work for a fair new world order during his presidency for the BRIC group in 2024. The president points out that the summit to be held in Kazan in 2024 will show that there are enough countries in the world that do not want to live in an order based on Western rules. The International Olympic Committee's Paralympic refugee team was invited to train in France ahead of Paris 2024. At the World Refugee Forum in Geneva, Switzerland, French Sports Minister Amélie de Castro confirmed that the IOC Paralympic refugee team will be able to train in France in the run-up to Paris 2024 as a part of a preparation course where they will also have access to first-class equipment, facilities, and accommodations. The National Institute of Meteorology of Brazil announced a new heat wave that is hitting a large part of the country. Specialists indicate that temperatures increase will be less intense than that last November, settling at 5.0 degrees above average for first day. The heat forecast includes 7 states along with the Federal District until December the 20th. In Kenya, floods caused by rains leave at least 170 deaths and more than 600,000 displaced in several areas of the country. The Kenyan Army reported that they are carrying out operations to evacuate hundreds of people trapped by the disaster generated by the rains in the provinces. The authorities indicate that the areas most affected by the floods are in the north of the country, where tens of thousands of people lost their homes, livestock, and farmlands.
My kitchen has collapsed. The flood war is all over. The previous week, I stayed in a school, and this week, I have been here. My bed is in a bad shape. You have seen my kitchen and my entire home. I am also raising orphans, so I urge the government to help us.
We don't have food, that's our main problem. We don't have mosquito nets, we have nothing to sleep on, and there are snakes. We are complaining because there is a woman who gave birth without medical help, and an old woman broke her arm, and there was nobody to treat her. When a child suffers, they ask their father for help. We are asking our government for help.
And we have come to the end of this news brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We're pleased to share our newscast and contribute to provide an alternative news sources of the latest world events. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net, and also use our socials from Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.